We are live. This is Lynn Serrano.
And I'm Brian.
All right. This will be interesting because we didn't pick a topic. We're on real. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Brian, thank you for showing up. My schedule has changed, and so I'm discombobulated for my days, my nights, my whatever. And it's just you put up with me. So I want to thank you for that first and foremost.
Sure. Yeah.
So usually we kind of pick a little topic. We don't ever talk about it before the show, but we pick something, and I was just in a funk today, so really couldn't get into topics. And Brian's like, oh, I don't know. So we're like if we're in a buffet and we just don't know what we want to eat, you know?
Yeah.
So you ever go to a buffet and you're not ready to eat, but you're there? So what do? Like you say, oh, I'm not gonna eat for about 5 hours from now. I should eat something now, or do you make better choices, bad choices?
Post COVID, there's not a lot of buffets around here. So
So, so it's been a while, right?
yeah, yeah. And if they are, it's the food is probably not served very well. So
Yeah. So yeah, I guess it's been a few years for that. Gosh, 3 years. Life has changed within 3 years.
yeah.
It's any wonder why things are just different. They're just different. And so
Well,
um
if you
so
if you think that you're on top of the way that the world is or whatever, just wait a minute.
yeah, because it's gonna change. It's all
Yeah.
gonna change. It's not, I think it's like I don't know, Mother Nature, the world, whatever, but it goes that cliche, expect the unexpected, and realize that things do change, whether you want to believe that or not, right?
Well, whether you do or whether you don't, it's your choice, but it doesn't mean that the world lives that way or
Right.
behaves that way. You can
Right.
you can be in denial about it all day long, but it doesn't really matter because we're one, we're individual beings in a population of 7 billion people, so they're going to go with the majority, and if it's business, well, they're going to go where the money is. You know,
Yeah. Well, and it goes to say that um we don't know what we do know, or we do know what we
no, we
don't
don't
know.
know what we don't know.
Right. Yeah, there you go. So whether you get it backwards or not, it's still a matter of the topic. Oh, look it, we got Debbie
Debbie's here. Hey, Debbie.
Bettendorf from Find Your Fabulous.
Yeah.
Produce her shows on Wednesdays. It's pretty cool. Find it.
I
So
I use that mindset every day of my life. Is we don't know what we don't know, and you find out who's really with that mindset and journey and who's not. If they
yeah,
don't have it all figured out, they don't, you know, if they're not comfortable, they don't know where they're going, right?
yeah.
Versus being in a space where everything is anew every day.
Well, and not knowing where you're going is not a bad thing
Correct.
if you're trying to go somewheres.
Correct.
And yet a lot of people are afraid because they're afraid of that. They're
Well,
afraid of not knowing what's going to happen.
I think it's how somebody's wired too, right?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
if you're, and nothing against, either hemisphere of the brain that you use, creatives or logic oriented people, but those that are, data, numbers, whatever, they look at life a certain way, and that's okay. Creatives look at life in a certain way, but much of life is not based on data.
yeah. Even though a lot of people collect data.
Yeah.
Want to read what Debbie said?
Yeah, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is a great mindset. That's I learned in theater school is that you should find as many ways as possible to make discomfort or uncomfortable your new norm.
Yeah.
So then you don't know the difference between when you're comfortable or when you're uncomfortable, because eventually you become immune to it all, where you're always in new spaces. You're always, what somebody may say to you that's like, wow, that's a major risk. You've been conditioned to keep pushing so it doesn't seem that way,
Yeah, and
you know?
I come here with the funk today, and Brian, he just he just gives this aura, this feel about him, like, "We're okay, we're here, we got this." He makes me feel so confident, and you gotta surround yourself with people like that, that just you just, you ebb and flow, and
Well, and I
I
think that
appreciate.
there's too many people in this world, and nothing against them or whatever, but and I'm a serious person. I got my personal demons that I face every day, but in essence, living an unfulfilled life is if I was sitting in my deadbed right now, that'd be one of the, did I do everything I said I wanted to do, and if not, why? Why didn't I do that? And so that's why I push so hard. That's why I see things in people that they may not see in themselves, and likewise,
Yeah,
do something.
yeah,
Wait for stuff to happen, and I think too many people are waiting for a million people to agree with them, or wants to get 100 likes on Facebook or whatever it is, and God bless you. But you have to be so sure of yourself that none of the other external stuff matters. Because if you're going to leave it up to the external world to validate you, good luck with that.
yeah,
Good luck
yeah,
with that.
you're not moving the needle much on that point.
Well, and plus, you're foregoing everything that is within inside of you, your heart, your mind, and all of that, for what somebody out in the real world, based on some algorithm, may or may not believe about you.
Right. And it's, a lot of people are going to wake up and realize that here soon, because it's just like, they're trying to ban TikTok, and there's going to be TikTok's going to be banned in Montana. But, as far as the US, eventually when that gets done, you're going to be stuck with the Facebook and the Instagram algorithm eventually,
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. That's where I spend all my time, is because you're open to the fact that you continue to discover and are vulnerable from what can show up. But
Yeah.
that is a skill and a quality and a study that the best pioneers have ever did. Jobs, Edison, Tesla,
Yeah.
they
You're
saw
right.
something. They were badgered for that. Oh, that'll never work.
And they could have gave up so many times, and where would we be if they did?
Correct. And
But
I think too many people this day and age are playing small because of how they're gonna appear to somebody, or cliques or groups or any of that.
yeah,
Is somebody else gonna pay your bills? Is somebody else gonna pay your mortgage? Well, then why
no.
would you let their influence in your brain if they're not gonna be accountable to any of that?
I mean, do you remember? I remember seeing a couple interviews when I used to watch the news of Bezos, and people thinking, okay, who's gonna wait for a package, and who's gonna buy? But I'll tell you, back late 1990s, when we were just doing emails, my brother and his wife, they invested in Amazon back then.
Yep.
I'll just tell you that much. My kids' gifts were $100 each to Amazon. They're like, "What's this? I don't know." And then, they bought themselves Nikes and CDs and things back then, and it was just, I mean, literally, they can remember and they were only like 8, 9, 10, they're in their 30s now.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
Right.
so my brother and his wife banked on a really good stock option back then.
I think too many people this day and age are there to judge, good, bad, or
Yeah.
other.
Judge,
Um,
but not to do
Oh
anything to
yeah, I
make
mean
it better,
yeah, somebody's got an opinion about something that I don't know. It kind of reminds me of like when somebody's like, hey, I bought this thing at so and so, and then somebody's like, well, that seems expensive, and it's like, why do you even care? Are you interested in buying it? No, well then it shouldn't freaking matter.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
remember when there was beta and VHS
oh yeah,
options?
yep,
And you had the people, and then all of a sudden we had the Androids as opposed to I apples or whatever,
hmm
watch or uh phones,
hmm
but before that was Motorola. It was the Motorola thing, and then all of a sudden these two. And so how cool is it that somebody didn't say, well, there's a Motorola or a BlackBerry? Shit, I'm not gonna make this thing called Apple, or I'm not gonna make this thing as an Android. I mean, seriously, And I was an Android person all the way till I was traveling, and then there's all of a sudden Androids had a problem with a battery that was blowing up, and I,
oh
I
yeah,
was flying, and they were
remember
taking
that.
people's phones. I was like, shit that, I'm going to Apple, and the rest is history for me. But that's all I'm saying is, like, thankfully they had an option,
Right.
as opposed to saying, "Well, shit, they built that already."
Well, and that kind of touches on a lot of things about, you know, talkers and doers and givers and takers, right?
Yeah,
And I just wrote a post. It just hit me one day where I'm like, in every industry you're going to run into this, but there's a lot of people that talk a big game, and
yeah,
there's people that do a big game.
yeah,
And whatever you want to use as your metrics is fine, but I'm not the type of person to talk. I'm a person of doing. And anybody I surround myself with, they are the same,
right.
because the doing is achievement. The doing is the rubber meets the road.
Yeah,
And too many people, it's like, yeah, they got an opinion about everything, but they look at their track record or their portfolio of work, nothing there.
yeah.
So then, how legitimate? The what do they call it? The keyboard behind the scenes.
Oh
They're
yeah,
the key,
warriors,
yeah,
keyboard,
keyboard
keyboard
warriors, right?
warriors. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then
It's
and it's all based on, it's all based on deception. It's all based on what they want somebody to see versus actually what's there.
I kid you not, I don't watch the news, but sometimes I do have fun going to look at comments people make.
Uh,
And I'm thinking, is that really your name? Is that really you? And you're gonna really put that comment on there? Like, really? I mean, I don't know.
it
It's just
it amazes me how many people are blown away or much influenced by somebody that is their age, that is posing in front of a $500,000 car that they don't own, but they're
yeah,
like, oh my god, look at that, look at what I can do if I buy their course or something.
yeah. And it's funny because
Unbelievable.
if you could see the whole film, that okay, got to move the car now from to valet, or
Oh yeah,
whatever. I
the
mean,
freaking cutout.
yeah.
The freaking cutout. It's
It's
our
like,
green screen.
yeah, it's like I want the backstory on that story.
Yeah, it's like, can you touch it? No. It's a
That
graphic
could have
on a green
cost
screen.
you.
Yeah. Make sure the lighting is so it doesn't look like my head is in its wheelbase or something, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. So
Yeah.
so that's and I think that's the funny thing is that people don't realize that eventually smokes and screens, you know, the fog machine stays on for a reason, right? Because you just turn it on, eventually dissipates. And
Right.
then you're gonna see all the flaws and everything, you know,
Well, and it's like,
when
to get right to the point. Here's why this matters. The bottom line is this. Nobody has time. If it takes you longer to explain why you're creating something than just to get into it and then your point of view, why watch it?
Yeah, and I think I find it very interesting when you actually can see right through and see what people's motives. You can see the ones that care and the
Oh,
ones are in it for the money or in it for the accolade or in it for the title or whatever. I mean, I mean, I'm saying this in such a way, but it's true, but I'm not going to name anybody or anything. But, it's just like somebody, I'll just use an example. Let's just say it's just like if somebody buys a name to something and gives that illusion that that's what it is when
yeah.
really all it is a website. And I mean, I've been there, seen that, and it's like, wow. And so when you wake up and you see, for what it is and the
Right.
history, I think Google's been very helpful that way, doing some research and realizing things aren't what they seem to appear on the surface. There's thousands of pages on searches. Sometimes you got to go to that 1001
Right.
to actually see what was started from this topic.
Well, and unfortunately, our world is so widespread with information, how fast we move, the flow of information, and the psychology of every person that's out there. Darlene's here. Hey,
Hi,
Darlene.
Darlene.
That people are going to be so blindsided by everything because our world is moving so fast that
Mhm.
they're going to have their view, and it's going to have to be a major overtaking if it's ever going to change.
Yeah, and speaking of that, like I've got the open chat AI directly from them, and I was one of the early ones to get in there and stuff. But it's funny because I went ahead and put something in there, and it told me, "Sorry, and this is Chat GPT 4, okay, the latest. Says
Right.
I'm sorry, my data goes as far as September of 2021."
Wow.
And
Okay.
I was like, "Oh!" So, just be mindful again that everything's not up there right to speed.
Well, and I can only speak for my industry, but I could only imagine what comes out of, the AI bots and all of that for the wedding industry,
Yeah.
right? Where they pulled all this information, but it's no different than every year they're gonna have a report that
I'll
says,
fill you
"Hey,
out a report and send it to you, Brian.
here are the questions to ask, whatever professional."
Yeah.
And I just had a conversation with my buddy last week because he's been out of the business for about 10 years. And one of the common questions, do you have insurance or liability insurance if something should happen? Right. And we're going to be teaming up to do an event. He's coming out of retirement for one event.
Nice.
And are they asking for that stuff? And I'm like, no, they're not. And
Wow.
so there's so much out there that is not good information, or if it is there, people are taking it as if it's the truth but they don't know enough to know that these are questions people were asking 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And
And
then they
and you
keep
know,
and they update it every year. Like the 2023 version of something, when it's like the content was based on many years ago, they just update it but don't change anything. Or
yeah.
maybe they get a different person in the circulation department to put their name on it.
Well, and and it's something you say that insurance on places and things like that because we have heard in the news about weddings where the bridges have fallen,
Yeah.
stages or concerts or events,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, so the whole picture, how, did the venue take care of those people that got hurt and stuff like that, the long-term effects of that.
Well, and plus, did they tell you the whole story or just what they wanted you to see in terms of how they wanted you to think about this?
Yeah, yeah,
Because obviously, more times than not, if somebody's harmed or injured or whatever, they're going to favor the victims, not
right,
necessarily the cause of it or who was at fault.
right.
They want
Yeah,
to frame that versus the antagonist versus the protagonist, right? They
right.
want to create that narrative regardless of what it is.
Again, the smoke screens. I mean, that smoke machine, fog machine, you stop that, you'll see a different view. I
Oh yeah.
guarantee it.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like another search. It's like another social media platform that'll remain nameless, where you look there and all you see is pictures of beautiful things, but you have no idea what it costs. You have no idea how many takes the professional photographer did. You have no idea if, like, let's say it's a bouquet. You have no idea if those blooms are in season or out of season. They
Yeah,
can frame it however they want, but the reality is if you were to put a price next to the cost of that bouquet
yeah.
and then what it took to get there and then the labor and all that, people would easily click off of that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
they want you to think, oh, you can have that too. But then, you know, um,
But this is all we have is a little carnation.
oh yeah, yeah,
Once they
we
get you in the door, they
that's a four
sign
hundred
the
dollar bouquet.
contract. Sign the contract. Oh, well, you know what? It is out of season and the whole crop just got whatever and
And I guarantee that picture was not done with that was done in a professional studio controlled environment with lighting, and it was not done off a smartphone. You know what I mean? There's such a way for these and it all makes sense. I mean, obviously you want people to want something they can't afford or really can do, right?
yeah, and every industry does it. I
Correct.
mean, coaching, I mean, like everything,
Yeah.
everything's like, you got to buy this water bottle, not that one, but this one.
Right.
And I mean, it's nice that we have choices to see, but then it really gets down to what is it for the individual to have this specific thing. And, again, if a lot of people gave up or, was going for the popularity, you're not going to win that. You're not going to
Well,
win that
and
battle.
I think too many times though it's like, okay, people people would rather compare than differentiate.
Right?
And it like yeah, like where because I mean it's like even if you go to a store, I mean, you're gonna be looking online to be like, okay, can I wait for this for 2 days to get it versus buy it here?
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about differentiating.
Yeah.
It might be within our psyche and our the human condition to compete versus differentiate. Well, what is this person doing or what's this business doing different than this one?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's so much easier to compete because then you're trying to look at features and benefits and ultimately what happens is the race to the bottom where
Yeah.
nobody's making any money.
Yeah. Well, I
Companies go out
mean,
of business.
I mean, I used to have a Walkman, then I had those little Nanus, then I had the Creative, then I had all this just to hear my music,
Yeah.
and then it was like, "Oh, shoot, why don't I get that in a phone?" And then what do you want here and what do you want there? And it's just a matter of what what it is that you want in anything, but to say, "Yeah, but Brian's got this and Lynn's got that," or this,
Mhm.
again, it's like, but you don't know why they're using it. You don't have the full picture to make a decision, except that you're making a decision that is not based on what your wants or needs, or have you actually checked into it for
Well,
yourself?
more people are going to be, when you ask some, at least I can only speak for the wedding industry, but when I come at it from an angle of why are you doing this?
Yeah.
What do you want to create and how can it be done?
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
implying that you've had some conversations with each other or you're open versus looking at me as if I'm going to fill you full of answers.
yeah. Well, I know your excitement and where you come from the heart. You sincerely try to find out what they want
Right.
and how you can help. And I guarantee you give, a bang for your buck because you try to fulfill people's dreams and wishes because I know you're good at that.
But
Whereas
here,
I know there's somebody else that's generically went and took a course and said, "No, this is what I can offer you is a wedding deal." And that's it.
but here's the thing is that, and this goes back to a fundamental understanding of like, okay, I come at what I do from an outcome perspective.
Yeah.
What outcome do you want to create? How do you want to feel? How do you want it to look like? Let's go there and then reverse engineer how we can make that happen.
Yeah.
But most brides and grooms and couples and their family members are conditioned to look for features and benefits.
Yeah, and there's
Doesn't
many
matter.
books, yeah, and there's many books that are written to just say, "Okay, do this 3 months, do this 4 months, do that, whatever." And then like, "Shit, we should have did this 6 months ago, and it's already too late."
Well,
So again, it is funny how.
well, and I find it funny too, is that when I ask people, because I've trained myself to do this, to ask questions of people that really matter,
Yeah,
things that are not, you're not going to find on the internet.
yeah,
But the interesting part about it is that how they respond to it after they've answered, or maybe they don't answer. Why
yeah,
don't you want to answer this? Is it confronting? Is it challenging? Or is it a point of view that you've never thought about? Most
and
people would rather condemn that than they would to lean into it because nobody else is talking about
Brian, just what you said there, I hope you make this a clip because the point in life is just what everything you said are the things people aren't doing in their life to realize to do the homework for themselves in anything and everything that they invest their time in, their money in, their energy in, or or back up,
it. Right.
you know, the backing up companies you don't believe in or blah blah blah. The list goes on, and I know we ran out of time here,
Yeah.
but you've made some valid points that even when you're feeling wonky, you got to sit there and you got to ask those questions.
Mhm.
Everything and anything in life, whatever you're going to do, you got to ask your questions. You don't answer the questions, you're really going to pay in the long run.
Well, and plus, and most people are not willing to, and I'm speaking on a macro level,
Yeah.
is that if you're not going to confront yourself, what are you going to confront?
Yeah.
Because you're you have to live with yourself every day. And
Yeah.
what are you putting at stake today of your time, your efforts, and what you want to achieve? Because too many people want to get external about it. They want to blame it on the weather. They want to do this. They want to do that. But we're the ones that are making that meaning, not life itself.
Love it.
And so to everybody wants to flee from the responsibility of what we hold ourselves accountable to. Oh, that's right. We're not holding ourselves accountable to any day based on our list. What do you want to achieve today? I got nothing written down. Well, then you let yourself off the hook.
Yeah.
It's so easy. Like, what did you want to get out of this experience? What did you want to get out of this purchase? I don't know. Well, then how do you know if you're going to be fulfilled or not?
Yeah.
you know and it's like it either, because you can't have both parts of it where you want to complain about it but you keep the product or service or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Or ask for your money back if it was atrocious, or if it was not everything that they fulfilled upon. you know I just never understood it for the life of me. Somebody will complain to everybody, but they won't ask the people that can make it right what
Yeah.
went wrong.
Yeah.
they'll tarnish that person with, with bad reviews and all of that, but they won't do the one thing that could really make a difference
Yeah,
and
and
talk to the general manager if it's a restaurant or
yeah,
the business person or whatever.
absolutely, and I've always found that when something does wrong and you talk to them, trust me, if you talk to them before you talk to anybody else and they know that you have the right to talk to social media,
Yep.
and I did this once for a dentist, but I was like, you know what, I could go to social media right now, but what are you going to do about this?
Right.
And it becomes a better outcome than you think, because and it's a blessing in disguise if you ask me, because when you think about when they do a mistake, not only they're trying to make it right, but you end up with more benefits than if they did it right and that was it.
I think
I
I think you'll also find out how human they are.
Yeah,
If
yeah, and
there,
yeah, exactly,
I mean, there are
exactly.
5 to 7 stages of rejection or of an unhappy customer.
Hmm.
Are you willing to acknowledge it or let it go? What
Oh
are you
yeah,
willing to do about it? Are you holding yourself accountable? So it's like you acknowledge it plus one philosophy, right?
absolutely.
So is that what I'm offering you, whether it's money back or whatever? Do you balk at it or do you confront it head on? Because here's the thing is that this is where it's a meeting of the hearts, one
Hmm.
heart to another. Because if they don't feel your sincerity, if they don't feel that you are really taking this hard, that you want them to come back, if it's a restaurant or what have you, you can have the best intention in the world, but unless they feel it,
Yeah.
it's not going to go where you want it to go.
Well, we need to leave, but I hate to say it, but there's a sushi bar in Bozeman that someone died from eating their food. So I know
Wow.
I'm leaving on a negative note there, but
No.
I'm just saying, like, can you imagine what they're going to have to do? Well, they're closed right now, but what they would have to do in order to be back in business. Just think about that.
I'll leave, and I know I've shared this on the show before, but there's a place in Wisconsin, it's a convenience store where I was at one of their locations, and it changed my point of view forever. Where if you're getting a latte or some kind of hot coffee beverage, and if you have to wait because the milk is out or they got to change the flavorings or whatever, they will acknowledge that your drink is free. Plus, they might give you a couple of vouchers in the future.
Wow,
I've
nice,
been going to that convenience store for years, but
nice.
this one location shaped that mindset where if ever I'm waiting at a place that does not do that, it reminds me of the place I went to where they did do that. So Darlene said, I wish I would have used that with one of my dentists. It took me a year, but I got my money back. And
Yeah,
the thing, and that kind of blows me away. Darlene, you're getting me on a tangent of a discipline in an area that I love so much, which is customer experience, is that they're willing to tell you all the stuff they're going to do, but then when it is about coming clean, no pun intended, but coming clean about what was not done or where was the missing communication gap
yeah.
that led to you not getting your money back and then whatever.
Oh, I could go on a story myself, but I'm definitely not going to do it right now. But again, it really comes down to, you know, why it's cliche and we're getting ready to leave, but
Right.
when things happen, because things do happen,
How you going to
and
respond
then
to them? Yeah.
yeah, and then you find out later you're blessed by the things that do happen. I think there's always blessings in
Well,
disguise.
and also, though, it amazes me too, those that are fully committed to how they serve their customers have already worked it out in their brain and in their processes. Is that if something bad happens, how are we going to recover from this?
Yeah, yeah,
They already have it worked out. Like you go to a great hotel, they have that already worked out.
yeah, we do.
You know, they give their people they
Absolutely.
give their people the independence to make sure that they have a long leash, so to speak, to do
Abs-
what is necessary on
Absolutely.
behalf of the customer. But then also, though, it benefits the hotel where somebody's going to come back and they're going
Yeah,
to tell people.
right. You're empowered in that position. Trust me,
Right.
I know.
All right.
Um, let's see. Have a
Have a
great
great
week.
week. You
You
too, darling.
too. And thank you for being here with us. Today we didn't have a topic, but off the cuff, we are real and raw here. So that comes with the name, that comes with, who we are. And I love these organic conversations with you, Brian,
Me
because
too.
you always shows your heart at your sleeve, and you roll with the punches. So I
Well,
love and
we
appreciate you.
well, we're improv people, so it's like it wouldn't be us if we're like, okay, the next talking point is this. All right, go.
Yeah,
It won't
yeah,
be
and
us.
that's what we really love about our conversations here. So, anyways, you guys have a great day. Any last words, Brian, before we leave?
No, I
Okay.
don't. Just be
All
real,
right.
be authentic, be yourself, and don't let anybody make you feel otherwise.
Awesome. I love you, Brian.
Love you
You
too, Lynn.
guys
See
have
you
a
next
good
week.
one. We'll see you later.